song called Chunty.
Oi, welcome to Uncle Chunt's CHUNTCAST. I believe this is number 13. Yes, number 13. And look, it's a new look, new set. Hopefully this lighting is coming through well. I'm just back to using this webcam. I can't be arsed mucking around with the other camera I was using. It just became too much of a problem. And the files were always getting corrupted. And it just ruined like a whole afternoon's worth of recording. So I'm just going back to this method, recording straight to my computer through my webcam. But at least I thought I could do was to invest in some better lighting, some moody lighting, and put stuff behind here, make it more me. Got a new chair, finally. Just, try up the game a little bit. And got a new AK Racing Max chair. I love it. It's good for us big fellas. Have something substantial to sit on. I love it. So yeah, welcome back. Looking forward to putting this one up. It's been a while since the last one. I think the last one I put up... Oh, I've just had lunch. I think the last one I put up was about my review for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. My opinion of that game has changed a lot since. I would recommend it to anybody that's a fan of the property. And I don't think I mentioned that quite in detail last time. I love that game. I'm in the end game stuff now, and I couldn't put it down. I just couldn't put the game down. I'm like 50 hours into the game now. So I haven't played a game that long in such a long time. So anyway, that game's kind of old news now. But I might even now that I've got all this set up, I can get back to maybe playing some games from here. I've got a big enough monitor across the room there that I can just kind of chill here and play a game in a chair that I can actually sit in for hours at a time without being scared or uncomfortable or sore or anything. So yeah, very looking forward to it. This room's becoming more of a creative hub again, which is something I haven't had for months. And I actually feel good about this room and this spot and actually want to create in it. So hopefully that'll come across in these videos to come. For now, what I really want to talk about is a few things. Harley Quinn, that movie, the Birds of Prey movie. I saw that. I'm going to give my thoughts on that, a review of sorts. What else have we got on the list today? Something about, Rod Fergusson from Gears of War fame, the Coalition studio head, departs for Blizzard. And there's more rumours going around about a Superman game. Now, I dug this up. I don't know how much this has been going around recently, but I want to go over it because there's a few interesting points here that I think are worth noting. So it's a bit DC heavy today, but there's some gaming news in here as well. So hopefully you enjoy. Anyway, let's look straight in, and we'll get right into the Birds of Prey thoughts and review of things. Cool. Okay, so the actual movie title is Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of the One Harley Quinn. It's a needlessly long title. But I've noticed in some of the marketing and trailers and stuff before the movie came out, it was just saying Birds of Prey and Harley Quinn. Or Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. So, I don't know, I think that was just more of a marketing thing. It wouldn't surprise me if when the Blu-ray comes out, it'll just be Birds of Prey and Harley Quinn or something. It's a stupid title, stupidly long title. I get it, I get what they're doing. It's a different thing, and the movie itself is different. But look, I'll get right into it, what I thought of it. We'll go with the good, because there's a lot of negatives. The good, Harley Quinn. Margot Robbie steals the show yet again as the one Harley Quinn. And she just nails it, man. She's just clearly, same thing everybody said in Suicide Squad, she's just made for the role. And she's got more of a hand in this one. I think she's helped producing this one, or is part producer or whatever. Her production studio has got something to do with this one. So she's quite hands-on with it, which is understandable and good to see. She loves the character. She's been reading a lot of the comics, which is evident in the film. There's some certain scenes in it that are just ripped right out of a couple of the most recent New 52 comics and some of the Rebirth stuff as well. So it's definitely it's part of the legit stuff, so I can't fault that. Ewan McGregor's Black Mask was probably my more enjoyable thing in the film. We'll get into more about that in a moment. But Black Mask. Look, Ewan McGregor looked like he was having a lot of fun with it for what it is. But when it got dark, like when he got really dark with it, he got dark, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that was very, very cool. And that's pretty much it. And some of the locations that they go to were pretty legit, like Amusement Mile just looked proper Amusement Mile, and that was really cool to see. Which is, if you don't know what Amusement Mile is, it's a location in Gotham City, and it's like a rundown amusement park which Joker and Harley Quinn usually hang out at, or it's the Joker's HQ, so to speak. So that was cool, but that was about it. Look, besides that, it's definitely set as a Suicide Squad sequel. It's a definite, like, takes off where that left off, if that makes sense. Where you're wrapping up with the end of Suicide Squad, where Harley's like, nah, Joker, I'm out, forget you, buddy. And this is kind of the repercussions of that. And they do have some like key nods to some characters from Suicide Squad movie. So it's definitely in that world. You see some of those connections. So it's legit a DC universe or DC film movie. It's not like its own standalone universe thing, which I know there were some headlines coming out saying that it was, but I don't know what that's about. You legit see characters referenced from Suicide Squad in it, so go figure. And hints of Jared Leto's Joker. It's definitely connected. I'll say that. Not going to spoil anything else there. Not like there's much to spoil with that regard anyway. But yeah, anyway, so that's the good. So if that's all I've got good to say about it, the negatives are coming in. The bad is just everything else. I'll say right now, back to Black Mask, they ruined him. Totally ruined him. Black Mask is a pretty awesome character. He's pretty sadistic, intense, bit of a threat in Gotham. Maybe not from like physical prowess, but he's a massive crime lord, crime boss. Has a lot of power in Gotham, and is one of the more notable villains in the Batman roster. If you look at the Arkham games, where Black Mask was in that Arkham Origins game, that's kind of that's a good representation of that character. And I was hoping that they would go that route with him, even though there's got nothing to do with Batman in this one. But still, what they did with him, they just they made him a bit of a joke. But I'll say that it's a bit flip-floppy. Like when he's having fun with it, like Ewan McGregor's clearly having fun with the role, but it's verging on campy. Like it's a very fine line. But when he goes dark, like I mentioned, he goes dark, and it's awesome to see. And even I was like, fuck, alright, I'm in with that. Like he just dark at a click or a drop of a hat. I loved it. But for the rest of it, they just ruined it. And particularly what they did with him. What they ended up doing with him was incredibly disappointing. As a fan and as someone that was looking forward to more to come, just totally disappointed. I'm not spoiling, or hope I'm not spoiling anything there, but look, this movie's not worth avoiding spoilers with anyway. Look, I didn't really have a good time with this movie. For me, I'll just go to one of my last points and go backwards. It was one of the worst DC films ever, in my regard. I did not enjoy it. I didn't laugh once. I might have chuckled once at something Ewan McGregor did. And that was about it. I was pretty damn bored throughout this film. And like, I'm a massive DC Comics fan. I've loved pretty much everything. All the films that have come out so far. And this is the first one that's made me go, yikes. Yikes. Like, A, I don't know who was asking for this film. B, I don't understand why it got made. C, I know it was like a relatively low budget, so they got away with it. And there are Harley Quinn fans out there, whatever. So it does have an audience. This does really cater towards the feminist crowd, where every woman in this is an absolute badass, and every man in it is a complete jerk, a womanizing cunt, or just a low-life trash kind of person. Like every male in it, or they're a joke. Every woman can do no wrong, and they're completely badass in their emotions and actions and everything. So it's very much to that crowd. There's a happy meet. You can do those kinds of girl power films without like making it such an obvious statement and putting off a whole sect of your crowd. Just look at Wonder Woman, for example. That was a very good like female empowerment film. Like, she was a total kick-ass badass in that movie without sidelining, you know, or making a man feel like they're dumb or useless. So that there is a good line you can go with it. This one, I'm just not about it. Didn't enjoy it at all. Not that I don't want to see those kind of films, because I like seeing whatever kind of movie if I'm interested in. And I was hoping that this would be more of a fun movie that wasn't so on the nose. And I don't mind seeing a movie about a bunch of kick-ass women. That's not a problem. I just don't like it rubbed in my face, that's all. So to speak. But yeah, the action, it was average at best. The fight choreography was just slack. Like, they'll do some pretty crazy stuff, but a lot of the moves are choreographed, which is obvious. A lot of them are, and you can't avoid that. But they're also telegraphed. Like, there's some slow shots where you can see the guy like watching for the kick, like in slow kind of motion, and it's just too obvious. A lot of the hits were telegraphed in that regard. You could see them coming, and so could they, and you could see them coming. So I thought that was pretty poor. But otherwise, there weren't really any like notable action sequences, besides the one at the end when they all come together. But even then, it was like, I don't know what's going on. It was a bit haphazard. Editing was pretty dodgy in some of the fighting scenes as well. Character-wise, a lot of them I think were miscast, or they were given the wrong script, or the story wasn't servicing the characters as well as it could have. I'll start off with the Huntress. Definitely miscast, I think. They played the character off as a bit of a joke. Like, her history is pretty sad, pretty intense, pretty full on, and it's just written off as a bit of a joke sideline, and I didn't appreciate that at all. They set her up as this really cool kind of hardcore badass, but just ended up laughing at her. So I think that was a missed opportunity. When I say miscast, I just think she just didn't have much to do with, and what she had to do with, she couldn't really do it well, if that makes sense. It was really campy and cheesy. Didn't like it. Dinah Lance, or Black Canary, I won't directly say it was miscast. I think it was just more mishandled. She's only got like one moment of the film that's notable. Otherwise, her character doesn't really have much to do. She's just kind of there. And you don't really get any of the traditional Black Canary stuff happening. They do touch on her history a bit with the original Black Canary, and like her lineage and all that kind of stuff, but it's not really introduced at all. You don't get the traditional costume either. It's all just really street level clothes and that, which is a bit disappointing. And even when they do get some regard to familiar costumes, it's still very like just basic and sports suits kind of stuff, and it's real street level. Like, yeah, whatever. If it's real, it's realistic. But I think they could have just went a bit more closer to it. Like, not to sound like a male chauvinist or anything, but I really wanted to get the Black Canary from the comics, who's just badass with the leather jacket, the fishnets, and like all that, the big blonde wig, and kicking ass and that kind of stuff. Like, part of her appeal is that she's small in stature, but she can beat almost anybody. Like, she's a very, very proficient hand-to-hand combatant, even to the point where Batman like respects her ability and her street level awareness and her street level fighting ability. Not only with her Black Canary cry and all that kind of stuff. Like, she's a very cool character. Like, if you've played the Injustice 2 game, that's pretty much what I was hoping to expect, or the one from the Justice League animated cartoon, which is just, I think, my favourite rendition of that character. I was hoping for that, but it's not what we got here at all. Cassandra Cain was probably the biggest letdown in this film. Those of you who don't know who the character originally is, Cassandra Cain it's a younger character, maybe, I don't know, teens or younger, or the character does grow over time, but originally she's meant to be like the second best assassin on Earth, only just under her parents, who are the best. And she eventually becomes one of the Batgirls, or a Batgirl. You've probably seen her image going around the internet at some point where it's just a completely covered Batgirl mask. You can't see her face. Looks really cool. But in this one, she's just reduced to a common pickpocket and an unlikable character. Just a street level pickpocket. And no parents, no nothing. She's an orphan, living in a foster home at the time of this movie. So it's just, I don't know, completely missed opportunity with this. I don't know how you're going to grow with this kind of character. I just think there's a lot of missed opportunities in this movie. I know some of the actual Birds of Prey comics and stories, and there was such great potential there to build upon or take hold of, that could have given you like really strong female characters in a really badass action-packed way without sacrificing any kind of I don't know, integrity, if you want to go there. The group themselves are notable for a reason. They've been around for a while, and I think they could have just pulled a bit more from the source material. But this one, you just get a really messy street kind of, grimy, tries to be funny, slap hazard kind of film. Didn't like it at all. It does fit within the Suicide Squad motif from the first film. Take it or leave it, as much as you like it or not. But look, it just wasn't for me. I went in wanting to be surprised. I went in wanting to be wowed. Not wowed, but just at least I wanted to enjoy it. I didn't want to go see a bad film. But for me, it wasn't for me at all. So I don't know. If you guys have seen it, let me know below. Let me know what you think. Don't just go in with like, oh, every DC movie, I hate them, rah, rah, rah. Like, that's not what I'm getting at here. Like, yeah, I'm a big DC Comics fan, but I'm also a fan of good films. I don't want any movie to be bad, and it goes for all the Marvel films or any other comic book company films. I want them all to be good, because that's my jam. I love those films. I love seeing them, and I don't want to waste my time and money on them either. So if you have seen it and you don't like it, I'm interested to know why. So you leave a comment below. If you did like it, that's fine, man. Let me know what you liked about it, and we can have a conversation if you like down below. Anyway, I'm done rambling on about this movie. Definitely not gonna go for a second round. If they bring out a Digibook Blu-ray, I'll probably buy it so I can put it in with the rest of the DC Digibooks I've got. Joker didn't get one, which I'm disappointed on. I've got to pick that Blu-ray up soon, but yeah, otherwise, I'm done. Next. Alrighty, so this one, it's a bit of industry news. Gears of War, it's one of my most favourite game franchises ever, which is kind of why I want to talk about this. So Rod Fergusson, he's been with Gears since like day one pretty much. Often labelled as co-creator of Gears of War, aside of Cliff Bleszinski. He was the man of Gears for years, and Rod was kind of behind there and co-creating it. And when Epic Games and Cliffy B were like, peace out, we're done with Gears now, and there was a bit of a lull period, and then Microsoft bought the IP off Epic Games and figuring out what they wanted to do with it. Rod Fergusson came back in and headed the studio called The Coalition. So they are made to make just strictly Gears games. So here we are years later. We've got Gears 4 and Gears 5 and the Gears Ultimate remake of the first game, Gears Pop, and now Gears Tactics coming out, all under the head of Rod Fergusson. So he's done a lot for the property since. And now he's moving over to Blizzard. And we all know some of the Blizzard mishaps and mess that's been occurring for that studio recently, and some of the lackluster releases that have been coming out, and fan backlash and all kinds of shit. Look, I would have hesitated to move over to Blizzard. I really would have, but obviously he's wanting to come up to the challenge, or they've offered him something that he can't refuse, which basically is coming in to spearhead or get the Diablo franchise back on track. So I've caught him on interviews on IGN saying that he would have loved to have made a Gears of War style Diablo type game because he's a massive fan of Diablo. So it's obviously something that's been in his back pocket or the back of his mind that he's wanted to do. So I can't blame him. When you've been with the studio that long and you've made so many Gears related games, like all the way back to 2006 or whenever the first one came out, fair enough. Like, you want to move on and do something different. I am just a little concerned about where they've left Gears 5 off. It's kind of open-ended. But he's been on record saying that he's already had a plan for Gears 6 in place. And they pretty much started work on it, like, on the roundup of Gears 5. So I think he's left it in good hands. I think he's left the direction where he imagined it going. So I don't imagine that they would be adjusting too much of it from here. So he says starting in March, he tweeted out, "I'll join Blizzard to oversee the Diablo franchise. Leaving is bittersweet as I love our Gears family. The fans and everyone at the Coalition and Xbox, thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege to work with you all." Which is good. Good on him. I'm not going to blame him too much, particularly if you're a fan of the franchise and property. But look, with Blizzard, with their recent releases, ever since the "Don't You All Have Phones" controversy about the Chinese-made Diablo Immortal game or whatever it was, and then the whole, what was it, that game? Blizzard was holding some game. I'm not too savvy about what the game was, Hearthstone or something like that, and there's a whole China protest and that backlash. And then now we've got Warcraft 3, the remake or whatever it's called, coming out, and everybody hates it because it's just not at all what was promised. So Blizzard need to get a win. And he's moving over at quite a hot time, not in a good way. But for him on the Gears of War side as well, I can imagine that he wanted to get out of it, because I don't know why, but the Gears community, I've kind of stayed out of it because it got really toxic. And I don't know why. It's like since Gears 4 and the lead up to Gears 5, it just, a lot of comments and attitude towards the game just got really toxic, as far as complaining about how the multiplayer controls or different maps, changes that people want, or the fact that Kate was going to be the main protagonist in Gears 5, all that kind of stuff. And like, he really pushed for Kate being the main protagonist rather than Marcus or DJ, which is, take it or leave it. But I really enjoyed Gears 5. That campaign kicked so much ass. The best campaign since Gears 3, in my opinion. So I don't know where the complaints are. Yeah, would I like to have played as Marcus Phoenix all the way? Yep. Not going to deny that. But look, I'm open to play as these new characters, as I just love the world and the Gears franchise as a whole. So I can probably tell he's come back running this Gears studio, and it's just getting nothing but shit from the community and the fans. And he's like, you know what, fuck this. And even though Blizzard aren't having the best of times lately, at least he's moving on to something new, something that he loves, and he can sink his teeth into it. So I don't blame him. I really don't. Why would you stick around a franchise that you've helped build for the last 15 years or so, and just getting shat on for everything you do with it? You may as well just walk away, give it to someone else. Yeah. And Cliffy B's come out saying since, like, hey, Microsoft offer's still on the table if you want me to consult on the next one. I'd be up for that. Bring him back in. Gears 1 to 3 are just fantastic, and Cliffy had a lot to do with that. I think Gears could use some Cliffy B back into the DNA. And I don't agree with all these woke comments to do with Gears. I don't, because Gears has always been, I want to avoid terms like inclusive and all that kind of shit. If you played the first 3 games or read any of the books, and even some of the DLC episodes, the characters are always so diverse and different anyway. It's not all like white meatheads. Like Dom is like a Mexican or Hispanic type dude. You got Coltrane, who's black. You got a lot of like female fighters that are in their own little like cog army units or establishments. Females fighting, old blokes fighting, young kids fighting, and different races and stuff. It's always been about like that. So that's never been a problem. So I don't know where all this hate's coming from. Kate being a main protagonist makes sense given the narrative of this new trilogy, where it's like the bringing back the lineage of the Locust Horde and all that kind of stuff, and she's directly connected to it. So it all makes sense why she would be the main person, right? So I don't know what they're going to do with the next one. Depending on what there's a particular choice you made towards the end of Gears 5, which is going to be interesting to see how they tackle that, whether that character is in the next game or not. I'm avoiding spoilers on that one, but man, look, more power to you, Rod. Go nuts. I really enjoyed Diablo 3. I bought the Crusader edition or whatever it was called when it came out with everything and the Crusader character. Like I originally played Diablo 3 on my Mac back in the day, and I was using the monk, and that was pretty fun, but I just got bored with it. Playing it on PC is just not my thing, or computer. I just walked away from it. And then when they released the Crusader expansion bundle thing or whatever, I bought that and played through the whole game as a Crusader. Loved it. So much fun. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to Diablo 4. It looks fantastic from what we've seen so far. So if Rod can bring anything to the table that he's done with Gears 4 and 5, man, can only sit, and he's passionate about it. God, yeah, I can only imagine what he's going to do with it. I don't know how far along Diablo 4 is, so if he's coming in to help bring it into line, it mustn't be too far ahead. So bring it on, I say. But yeah, look, let me know what you think about that. You probably have no care in the world. Like, this is kind of inside level stuff to do with the franchise. I'm invested in that kind of stuff as far as Gears of War goes, because I love that franchise so much. So many changes, like massive changes like this, it gives me pause. I don't know who's taken over his role. I really don't. I don't think it's been announced yet. But for him to bring it back at such a quality, or at least there's hundreds of people behind him that make those games. It's not just him, but for him to be the head of it and to shepherd it back and to bring it back to the quality that it is, it's insane. That game runs so good on the hardware. That's just the hardware of the Xbox and PS4, and that they've always been a bit behind. They haven't been the best hardware, and to get Gears 5 running on it like it is, it's just amazing. Mind you, I'm playing on an Xbox One X, and it looks brilliant. But even on standard Xbox hardware, it looks great. So the amount of power you can get out of such crap hardware, it's amazing. So who knows? Gears 6 on Series X. God, fuck, just put it in my ass already. Anyway, let me know what you think. Do you play Gears? Have you played Gears in a while? Have you even touched the Gears 4 and 5 campaigns? They're on Game Pass. Do you have that? Let me know below. I'd be interested to know what you guys think of Gears in general. Like, I love it. So I know it has its controversies and that, but it's still fun, man. It's fun. It's brutal. I love playing the Horde mode. It's my favorite. I miss playing that online with mates. So it's something I hope to get back to in the future. And yeah, I'll look forward to seeing what you say in the comments below. Anyway, let's get done with that and move on to the next one. This is kind of a more fluffy piece for me. Okie dokie. So, a couple weeks back, there was an article that came out saying there's a new next-gen Superman game reportedly in the works, but how many articles of those have we seen in the last few years, right? So I'm fully aware of that. But this one, it's kind of more modern. It references directly to PS5 and Series X and PC. So the reports are saying that a new next-gen Superman game are being made. Doesn't have many details besides that. However, it's led to believe that it's possibly Montreal, like WB Montreal, who did Batman Origins and that. So, I mean, they've been rumored to be working on Justice League games or a Suicide Squad game for years. If it was a Justice League game and they cancelled it, I don't know what happened with that. But I think there's been call for a good Superman game for years, right? Because they've never been good. I think the only good one that's ever come out, in my opinion, was the exclusive one that came to the original Xbox. That one was like real comic accurate. It was all about Y2K and Brainiac coming to take over and, you know, evolve Earth with this technology. And, you know, Superman was like, nah, not having much about that. But Metropolis got hit and got upgraded and it was all that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. And you had full control over your powers, your heat vision, your super speed, X-ray vision, and telescopic vision. Like you could see across the level like really far, where a lot of people are saying it's impossible to have access to all these abilities, yet they were doing it back on that old hardware. And I remember on the 360 era where they're like, yeah, we can't, with the consoles, the hardware that we have doesn't facilitate a proper Superman game, yet here we are with that original game doing it justice. And it, you know, it was good. It had like comic book unlocks, like you could, there was a couple of issues in there, or some just artwork in general, and multiple costumes and all that kind of stuff. It was a bit cheesy as far as the voice work goes, and the animation wasn't the best, but man, I played that game a lot when I was younger. To me, it's still the best Superman game ever made, and that doesn't say much because most of the games have been crap. I think Superman Returns came close as far as controls go, and like just feeling the power of Superman as you're flying through Metropolis. I think they nailed that, but unfortunately the rest of the game was just garbage. But a lot of people say Rocksteady should be doing it, but I don't think so. Rocksteady, so far, I don't know a lot more of what they've been doing, but they seem to be really dark and like focus on the grittiness of the Batman character. And I think as a studio, they just love that because it comes in the game, right? Every game that they've put out in the Arkhamverse is like just full of that, and I love it. It works for Batman, but I don't think it's suitable for a take on Superman. Even though, you know, Superman can be like mature and dark, but I think I don't think you can get away with it for too long because he's supposed to be, you know, bright hope and all that kind of stuff. So I think giving it to another studio that's not so ingrained in the Rocksteady kind of mindset could be a good one. WB Montreal, I really enjoyed Arkham Origins, so I think I'd be trusting in them to do a Superman game because I think they did it. What they did in Origins was really, really good. I know it got a lot of hate and it got kind of glossed over when it came out, but unrightly so. There's talk of other studios that Warner Brothers could hand it over to besides Rocksteady. Like you've got NetherRealm Studios, which isn't going to happen. I don't think they could facilitate a fully open world game or anything like that with their workflow. They're all about cycling those fighting games. Who knows? I mean, they could surprise us and bring out the best Superman game ever. Then there's Monolith Productions and Portkey Games, I've never heard of. TT Games and WB New York and WB San Diego and various other ones like in Boston and San Francisco. But I literally don't know anything from what those other studios do besides what was it, Shadow of Mordor? That was a Monolith, was it? I'm pretty sure. Let me know if I'm wrong. But yeah, I wouldn't imagine them being able to do it either. If any of these studios were able to do it, my money would be on Rocksteady, WB Montreal, or Monolith Productions. But who knows, man. Either way, I'm just hoping that they give Avalanche Software, that's the other one I was thinking of. They could probably do it. I think Avalanche Software, they helped do that Mad Max game, that open world Mad Max, I'm pretty sure. That could work, I think. Yeah, I don't know. I know a lot of these studios have multiple teams that they could be handling off to, but I just hope that if this is true, because there's been like concept art leaked and actual like screenshots of menus and character profiles and stuff that have leaked over the last couple of years, and you want to know where that comes from because some of it looks actually legit, right? So, I mean, you could take a lot of this with a grain of salt, but it comes to reason that a lot of these rumors come up for a point, right? And we haven't had a good Superman game in a long time, or if at all. And I think it's about due. I think if someone cracked that Superman game code, man, it would be so good. Like, there's also talk of whatever the next DC game that comes out will be exclusive to a console. I'm kind of a bit against that. But if it's Xbox, there's precedent for an exclusive Superman game on the platform, like going back to the original Xbox. Like I have it, I own that game. So look, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Sony, they hogged that Spider-Man game, and I really wish I got to play that properly on Xbox. I don't want to have to buy another box just to play that one game. But if Xbox were like, alright, screw you, we want to get our own exclusive superhero game, let's put our money on Superman, like the big daddy, and hopefully give it some resource, or with WB gives it the resource it needs to be good, because you can't screw it up. You just can't afford to screw a Superman game up, not today. You really can't. If they did bring out the Justice League game, which the other rumor is, if they do bring out a Justice League game, whatever studio does that will have split teams working on like an individual game for some of the main member leagues, or league members. Tongue twister. So say for argument's sake they bring out Justice League, and then they offshoot a Superman and a Batman game. Who knows if it will tie into the Arkham verse or what. I don't really know what's going on with the Arkham games, the Batman Arkham games. I'm kind of good in walking away from Batman for a while, because we've got 3 or 4 technically epic Batman games out of Rocksteady. Just bring us someone else. Warner Brothers have a vault full of DC characters that they could be, getting these studios to make games on. I don't know why they don't. It's not hard, man. Like, I say that in this seat, not knowing how to build a game at all, but people say it's hard to write for Superman, which just isn't true. You just have to get the right writer and with the right vision. He's not impossible to write for. Some of his best stories are the more emotional and personal takes. Yeah, he might be all powerful, but he has morals. He's got emotion. He cares for things. There are physical limits that he can be challenged by. So there are obstacles for him to take. And Superman's always as powerful as the writer needs him to be anyway. So it can be done. And if that does happen, man, I think you'd be on a winner. I just hope they don't campy it up and make it full of cheese. I don't need that shit in my life. These are all unofficial reports, of course, and I don't think we're going to hear anything until E3 or afterwards as far as these big kind of announcements. I mean, this all circulates around to like a couple of years. We were hearing about Rocksteady making a Superman game, and I think that's when some of those leaks were coming out. But nothing ever came of it. And there's been other things leaked. On YouTube, you can find a video on a pre-build Superman game where you're fighting Doomsday and you're smashing through buildings and stuff, which looked really sick. Pretty disappointed that one didn't come through. Yeah, look, I don't know, man. There's a lot of DC comic fans out there that feel a bit slighted with some properties or some products that have come out. Movies, I've loved them all except for Birds of Prey that I talked about earlier. A lot of the games that they make are pretty decent as well. And when they do put something out, it's generally quality. Not 100% of the time. There's a Young Justice game that was an actual steaming pile of shit that came out on the 360. But look, hell, I would even take... They made a... I can't remember the studio's name off the top of my head, but they made a Justice League Heroes game on PS2 and Xbox. And it was like a dungeon crawler, like Baldur's Gate or... not really Diablo, but that kind of thing. Wasn't really like Marvel Ultimate Alliance. It was a bit more focused, and you didn't have such a flexible roster. It was like you had a set bunch of characters per level that you could use. You couldn't just swap them out whenever you wanted. But man, I really liked that game. I'd even take a sequel of that if that was it. You wouldn't have to put too much money into that rather than building a massive open world. But look, I just saw this report come out, and I've wanted to talk about it the last couple of weeks, but the video files have already been stuffed up every time I go to edit it. So I thought I'd just touch on it now on this one, and I have to put it out there to talk about it and to see whoever watches this, if you're interested in a Superman game at all. I think we could have a really fantastic opportunity to have a good Superman game soon. The hardware that we're getting, it's more than enough, man. More than enough that we could get a proper Superman game, and like just barreling through the skies super fast, and like all of the rendered like buildings and stuff would be fine. Frame rate, all that kind of shit. I think we've got it enough that you could be like really just speeding through between buildings real quick. Hell, even the Superman Returns game on 360 was able to do it, even though the buildings were just really like, you know, low res shit. But the city was massive. Like Metropolis is pretty huge in that game. So now you can probably get away with a lot of it, a lot of lighting effects, you know, weather changes and all that kind of stuff. Man, I want it so bad. Like, as a Superman fan, I want a Superman game to come out that'll be like, yes, you know, and just make it cool the way that the Arkham games made it cool for Batman, because, man, he had some really shit games as well for years. So, anyway, those are my thoughts. Obviously, there's not much to go on. This is all like speculation and just rumor at the moment, but, man, I really wanted to talk about it. So, let me know below. I don't know if you are a Superman fan or not, or are you looking forward to a Superman game, like a modern one? Let me know what you think, or what kind of game would you prefer they make from DC. Like, is there another character or just a Justice League game? Keen to know below. Anyway, I'm going to go dream some more, and we'll wrap this one up, shall we? Okay. Alright, well, there we go. Yeah, there's 3 topics done. Well under an hour. I know we just kind of barreled through that kind of stuff. Really trying to keep this under an hour or 45 minutes. I think I did it really well. We'll find out in the final edit, of course. But look, this is good. I really enjoyed this one. Just talking about a few things that I've wanted to talk about. One topic I've been wanting to talk about for weeks, but hardware issues. And Birds of Prey. If you like it, I'm happy for you. Didn't enjoy it, and you can't convince me otherwise, unfortunately. And Gears of War, I'm still looking forward to what they bring out next. I really, really am. And I'm happy with it if it's just an exclusive. But we'll see about that. Anyway, look, this has been fun. I'm really enjoying this. The new lighting is a bit more dynamic. It's not just blank walls. So I finally invested in a bit of this. And this chair is definitely making it a bit more comfortable. I was sitting on like a metal chair that's not built for a guy like me for months there. And I couldn't get comfortable. I couldn't talk like properly. I wasn't comfortable to think well. But now I've got this big ass chair, and you know, I feel good about it. So hopefully it comes across. And I'm really looking forward to just, you know, hanging back into this again in the coming weeks, and you know, looking at all flash and moody and stuff. Some sexy mood lighting, yeah. And yeah. So in the meantime, I'm gonna wrap this up. So be kind to each other. Like, man, goddamn, the world is a pretty scary place these days, and the least thing you can do is just be good to yourself and to other people, man. Really, and just enjoy yourself wherever you can, doing whatever you want to do, as long as you're not hurting each other. Come back next week. I'll have a few more topics to talk about, and hopefully, if you want to, go over to Mixer and follow me there. Now I've got this setup going. I'm gonna bring in my Xbox now and then, and just play from here because the monitor over there is big enough, so I can just give myself an excuse to play some games. So if you want to go over to mixer.com/Uncle Chunt and just follow me there, and we can hang, play some games or whatever. I might be on there later tonight, and I hope to see you there. I don't know what I'll be playing. Might be some Dragon Ball, who knows. And yeah, toodaloos. I'm going to go edit this and put it up and get ready for the week ahead. Yeah. Until then, I'll catch you next week. Toodaloos.
Oh, yes, Uncle Chunty.